He was fired from his first job for lacking imagination. He went bankrupt before he turned 22. He lost his first successful character, along with his entire team of animators, to a studio that simply took the rights from him. And then, from the ruins of all of that, he created Mickey Mouse, Snow White, Fantasia, Disneyland, and the greatest entertainment empire the world has ever seen. His name was Walt Disney, and his story is one of the most remarkable in American business history. Walter Elias Disney was born on December 5, 1901, in Chicago, Illinois. His family moved to a farm outside of Marceline, Missouri, when Walt was 5, and it was there, in small-town Missouri, that the imaginative world Disney would spend his life building first took shape. His father, Elias, was strict and sometimes harsh. To escape, Walt drew. He drew everything: animals, people, cartoons, stories. It was the one place he felt fully himself. At 16, he dropped out of high school and lied about his age to serve as an ambulance driver for the Red Cross in France during the First World War. He came back with his ambitions intact and his imagination wilder than ever. He took night classes in art in Kansas City, landed a job at a commercial art studio, and met a young artist named Ub Iwerks, who would become his most important early collaborator. Then he was fired from a newspaper job. The editor said he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Walt Disney would spend the rest of his life proving that wrong. In 1922, in Kansas City, he started his first animation company, Laugh-O-Gram Studio. He hired a team of animators, made short fairy tale films, and ran out of money within a year. Laugh-O-Gram went bankrupt in 1923. Walt was 21 years old. He packed a single suitcase, moved to Hollywood with $40 in his pocket, and knocked on every studio door he could find. Nobody wanted him as a director, so he reopened as an animator, convincing his brother Roy, who was recovering from tuberculosis in a Los Angeles hospital, to become his business partner. The Disney Brothers studio was born. Their first real hit was a character called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. The films were popular. The future looked bright. Then Walt traveled to New York to renegotiate his contract and discovered that his distributor at Universal Studios owned the rights to Oswald. Not Walt, Universal. They took the character, they took most of his animators, and Walt came home with nothing. On the train back to California, losing everything for the second time, Walt Disney began sketching a new character, a cheerful, mischievous mouse. His wife, Lillian, convinced him not to name it Mortimer. They settled on Mickey instead. Mickey Mouse debuted in 2 silent shorts in 1928. They went nowhere. Then, just as the movie industry was electrified by The Jazz Singer, the first feature film with synchronized sound, Walt made his decisive move. He made a third Mickey Mouse cartoon called Steamboat Willie, and he synchronized it to music and sound effects. Steamboat Willie premiered on November 18, 1928. Audiences had never seen anything like it. A cartoon character who moved in time with music, who interacted with sound. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Mickey Mouse became a national sensation. Within a year, Mickey Mouse clubs were forming in cities across America. Children were showing up at theaters specifically to see him. Walt voiced Mickey himself for 19 years. The studio grew fast. They invented characters: Donald Duck, Goofy, Pluto. They developed the Silly Symphonies series, cartoons set to classical music. And in 1932, their Silly Symphony film, Flowers and Trees, became the first color cartoon ever made, and the first animated short to win an Academy Award. By 1934, Walt Disney was doing something the entire industry thought was insane. He was making a feature-length animated film. Nobody had ever done it. The conventional wisdom was absolute. Audiences couldn't sustain their attention through a cartoon for more than a few minutes. The industry had a name for the project. They called it Disney's Folly. Walt mortgaged his own house. He pushed the budget from the original estimate to $1.5 million. An enormous sum in the middle of the Great Depression, roughly 10 times the original budget. He drove his team relentlessly for 3 years. He obsessed over every frame. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs premiered on December 21, 1937. It was a triumph so complete it silenced every critic. It became the highest-grossing film of 1938. It earned $8 million worldwide against a $1.5 million budget. At the Academy Awards, Shirley Temple presented Walt with a special honorary Oscar, one full-size statuette, and 7 miniature ones. Snow White remains, adjusted for inflation, the highest-grossing animated film in United States box office history. The success of Snow White funded a new studio in Burbank and launched the golden age of Disney animation. In rapid succession came Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi, each one a technical and artistic masterwork. Pinocchio introduced the multiplane camera, giving animation genuine cinematic depth. Fantasia, animation set to classical music performed by the Philadelphia Orchestra, was unlike anything ever attempted. Dumbo and Bambi brought genuine emotional depth to the animated form. Walt Disney won 22 Academy Awards in his lifetime, more than any individual in history. He received 59 nominations, also the individual record. But Walt Disney wasn't finished. By the early 1950s, he had a new obsession: a theme park. Not a fairground with rides scattered across a field, something fundamentally different. A place where you walked into a story, where the world of the films became a physical reality you could inhabit. Every bank he approached turned him down. So he did something characteristically audacious. He went to television. In 1954, he launched a TV show on ABC called Walt Disney's Disneyland. The show was designed to promote the park before it existed, and in exchange, ABC provided financing. It worked. The show became an instant hit, earning an audience share of over 50%. The Mickey Mouse Club followed in 1955, the first daily children's television program. And on July 17, 1955, Disneyland opened in Anaheim, California. The opening was broadcast live on ABC, watched by 90 million viewers. In its first year, 3.5 million people visited, more than had visited the Grand Canyon that year. Disney had invented the single-admission theme park. Every theme park that exists today is, in one way or another, a copy of what he built in Anaheim. Walt Disney died on December 15, 1966, of lung cancer. He was 65 years old. His brother Roy, who had been his business partner since the beginning, postponed his own retirement to see Walt Disney World completed. It opened in Orlando, Florida in 1971. What did Walt Disney actually build? First, the art of the animated feature film. Snow White proved that a cartoon could have the emotional depth, the scope, and the power of great cinema. Every animated film since, from Pixar to Studio Ghibli, descends from that bet. Second, the theme park as immersive world. Disneyland invented a category of experience that had never existed before. Not an amusement park, but a complete alternative reality. Every theme park in the world is a descendant. Third, the modern cross-platform entertainment brand. Characters, films, parks, merchandise, television. Disney built the template that every entertainment company now attempts to replicate. Fourth, failure as a design principle. He went bankrupt at 21, lost Oswald, was told Snow White was folly. Each disaster taught him something. He made failure productive. 3 lessons from Walt Disney's life. First, own the character, not just the content. Disney lost Oswald because he didn't own the rights. Mickey was different. He owned everything from the start. The lesson: if you don't control your intellectual property, someone will take it. Second, use one platform to build another. He used a television show to fund and advertise a theme park before it was built. The show was the advertisement. The advertisement was the show. This is now the standard playbook for every media company in the world. Third, bet on the thing everyone calls a folly. Synchronized sound, feature animation, a theme park built in an orange grove. Every breakthrough was laughed at first. The breakthrough was always in the Disney's folly. The folly was always the point. He was fired for lacking imagination. He went bankrupt before he was 22, and he died having won more Academy Awards than any human being in history, having built an empire that still shapes how the world imagines itself. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Thank you for joining us for episode 25. Our next episode is Samuel Insull, the man who brought cheap electricity to America, built an empire that powered the nation, and then lost everything in one of the most spectacular collapses in business history. Until then, stay curious.